Hey guys, today we're going to learn about writing equations from tables. And our objective is to write an equation from a table. And this is page 52. All right, well, there are two main types of relationships. There's additive relationship and a multiplicative relationship. So first, we're going to look at additive relationship. And the format for an additive relationship would be y equals x plus a. And it's important to know that additive doesn't just mean it's adding. It can also mean adding or subtracting, because with integers, if I add a negative, that's the same thing as subtracting. So that's why we're just calling it additive. So if I look at the table here, you need to remember that you're really looking from how do I get from x to y, x to y. Don't look sideways and go, hey, it's counting by twos. You need to see what am I doing to get from x to the y value? Well, first, I would look and see, is it going up, is it increasing, or is it decreasing? When I look here, 2 to 5, that increased, increase, so it's increasing. If it's increasing, it means you're either adding or multiplying. If it's decreasing, it means you're subtracting or dividing. So I am increasing, so I would just test it out. Well, 2 times what is 5? Well, I can't think of anything, any whole number at least. So let's try additive. 2, if I add 3, that'd be 5, okay, so plus 3. Let's see if it works for the next pair. 4 plus 3 does give me 7. 6 plus 3 does give me 9. So now I'm pretty confident that this is an additive relationship, besides the point that I told you, and that we are adding 3 each time. So my rule here would be plus 3. So now that I know the rule, I know what this could be. 8 plus 3 would be 11. Now here, I'm going to just put x. So no matter what my x is, what am I doing to it? Meaning any number I plug in for x, no matter what do I do to it? Well, I'm adding 3. So this would be x plus 3. Well, now to write my equation, you need an equal sign. And the y is what it's equal to. So now all you're doing is putting y equals x plus 3. So in other words, you're putting your x with the rule. We did this before, but we just did this side, the expression side. So it's the same thing as before, but now we're just adding the y equals to it. Okay, so here is a table. We're gonna look at the table and try to determine what's happening, and so we can figure out our rule and what equation would go with it. So let's see, I have 12, and I went to 10. 11 to 9, 10 to 8. So I notice it's decreasing. So that means we're either subtracting or dividing. So let's start with subtracting. What would I subtract from 12 to get 10? Well, if I subtract 2, that'd give me 10. Let's see if that works for this pair. 11 minus 2 is 9, yes. 10 minus 2 is 8, yes. Okay, I'm pretty confident that the rule is subtract 2. So this would be minus 2, which you could also write plus negative 2. And the equation, well, first let's fill in these boxes. So no matter what this number is, what am I doing to it? I'm subtracting 2. So we're going to just write an x here, meaning no matter what value I plug in for x, what do I do to get this value? I take the x and I subtract 2. So in other words, you just put these together, x minus 2. Okay, so my equation, y equals x minus 2. So I just set it equal to y. Y equals x minus 2. Now both of these are examples of additive relationships. Again, I could also write this as y equals x plus negative 2. That would mean the same thing, because if I do keep change opposite, that would be x plus negative 2. Okay? All right, now let's look at a multiplicative relationship. Well, the formula for that would be y equals ax, meaning whatever you're multiplying is the a. Just like up here, whatever you were adding or subtracting by went in for a. Okay, so I first look at this and I notice that it's getting larger, Okay, so it's increasing, which if I didn't know this already, that would tell me either adding or multiplying. If I look here, if I thought, well, maybe it's adding. 1 plus 7 is 8. So if I try that for 2, 2 plus 7 is not 16. So it's not additive. So let's try multiplicative, meaning multiplying. 1 times 8 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. So that worked for both of them. So then I would continue that pattern. So my rule is times 8. I'm going to use a dot to represent multiply. Remember, we don't want to use our time sign because that looks like an X. Okay, so then 3 times 8 would be 24. 4 times 8 would be 32. So here I'm just putting X. Again, that stands for anything I put in for X, any value I use. What would I do to it? I'd multiply by 8. Remember, we're not going to put X and then the dot and then 8 because I want to put it in proper algebraic order. And in algebra, when you're showing two things are being multiplied, you're going to put the number in front of the variable. So instead of writing X times 8, I can just write 8X. Now, how do I write my equation? Well, I just set it equal to Y. So Y equals 8X. Okay, so now let's look at another one. We have a table here. All right, how am I getting from 20 to 10? Well, one way would be subtracting 10. Does that work for the next pair? 25 minus 10 would be 15, so no, that doesn't work. Okay, so since I'm decreasing, now let's try division. 20 divided by 2 would be 10, okay? 25 divided by 2 would be 12.5. 30 divided by 2 would be 15. All right, so we are dividing by 2. So if I have X here, no matter what value I plug in for X, what am I doing to it? I'm dividing by 2. Now you could write X divided by 2. I'm going to write it in the form of a fraction because you're going to see that very often. So X divided or over 2. All right, and then how do I make that into an equation? I just set it equal to Y. Y equals X divided by 2. Now, why is division the same as multiplication? Because I could rewrite this as a multiplication problem, and I could say Y equals 1/2 X. When I divide by 2, that's the same thing as multiplying by half. So either way, I could write this in a multiplicative way. So additive is adding or subtracting. Multiplicative means multiplying or dividing. All right, now let's look at a word problem. So a certain percent of the sale price of paintings at a gallery will be donated to charity. The donation will be $50 if a painting sells for $200. The donation will be $75 if a painting sells for $300. Find the amount of the donation if a painting sells for $1,200. All right, well, first thing I need to do is figure out what are the two variables in this situation. And I'm going to label this X and this Y. We're going to put our independent. Remember, X is independent, Y is dependent. Okay, so what are the two things that I'm talking about here? Well, I'm talking about sale price and I'm talking about donation. So out of those two, which one would I need to know first? Which one is the independent variable? Well, I can't figure out what the donation is unless I know the sale price. So that means I need to know how much the painting is selling for first. So that means the sale price is going to be your independent. So sale price of the painting, and then the Y would be donation amount. All right, and then in the problem it told us a few examples. So it says the donation would be $50 when the painting sold for $200. So sale price is $200 and the donation is $50. Okay, then it also said the donation will be $75 when it sells for $300. So that means this would be $300 and the donation is $75. Now it wants us to find out how much will the donation be for a painting that sells for $1,200. Okay, so first of all, we're going to create an equation, a formula to help us with this. So let's just call this X. Okay, so we can create an equation and then we'll be able to just plug in this number to solve. All right, well, I need to first figure out the relationship here. I see that it's decreasing, so that means we're either subtracting or dividing. So to get from 200 to 50, I would have to subtract 150. If I do 300 minus 150, I don't get 75. So I know it's not subtracting. So that means I must be dividing. So I need to figure out, well, what do I need to divide 200 by to get 50? Well, to find that out, I could just divide 250 and see what that is. So let's do that. 200 divided by 50 Well, let's count by 50s. 50, 100, 150, 200. That was 4. So it goes in 4 times. So that means I'm dividing by 4. So from here to here, divide by 4. From here to here, divide by 4. And then, so here, for my x, no matter what this sale price is, I'm going to divide it by 4. So this would be x over 4, or x divided by 4. So then my equation would be y equals x divided by 4. Okay, now it wants to know how much the donation will be. So I want to know what y is going to be when x, or the sale price, is 1,200. Well, now, since this is my x, all I have to do is plug it in and solve. So let's do that. So y equals 1,200 divided by 4. So let's solve that. 1,200 divided by 4. 4 goes into 12 3 times, which is 12. Bring down 0, that goes in 0 times. Bring down another 0, that goes in 0 times. So that means that when it is 1,200, my donation would be $300. Donation. All right, so keep practicing these additive and multiplicative relationships, and thanks for watching.